So hello everyone, welcome to the 12th reading session. Uh, we have a paper with us that is GLOB, Global Vectors for Word Representation. This was authored by three people who are currently in the deep learning community of Stanford University. They are Jeffrey Pennington, Richard Socker, and Christopher D. Manning. Myself, Sohan Patnaik. I am a third year undergraduate from the Department of Mechanical Engineering. I am also a head at KDAC. Yatindra Indoria will be accompanying me. He is a junior member at KDAC and he is from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. So let's begin. Before starting, there are some important notes. So we expect you all to have certain queries regarding the presentation, certain doubts might be. So please put them in the chat of this meeting and we'll address that at the end. And you also try to keep yourself mute and we'll address all your queries at the end. Finally, a Google form will be released for feedback, but most importantly, we'll ask you to put up a name of any AI related paper that we might present in the upcoming sessions if possible. The outline of the session will go like this. First, we'll introduce to you what this GLOB model is, what were the drawbacks of the previous models. Then we'll deep dive into the GLOB model, what are its notations and what the model is exactly on. Lastly, we'll deal with the complexity of the model. What is the time complexity that we need to carry forward with the model. Then we'll see the experiments, the evaluation methods, the corpora and training details, results, like how GLOB outperformed other models, and finally the model analysis. Then we'll be concluding the session. Over to you, Yatindra.
So, introducing this paper. So, in natural language processing, previous models had been successful in capturing regularity in syntactic and semantic details, and similarly could also be used to somewhat analyze the meaning. But the origin of how it was done and how the regularities emerged was somewhat opaque. Secondly, one other issue which we had is there were models like LSA, which leveraged the statistical properties of the entire corpus, but they had suboptimal vector space structure, as it could be seen from their performance on the tasks like the word analogy tasks. And there were other variety of models like the SIBA and the Skipgram model, and these models sort of acted on a smaller window of the corpus and then gave the results. Thus, these are the disadvantage of not sort of using the entire statistics. The GLOB model, which we'll be introducing, does away with this. It's a log bilinear model, as we'll see ahead, and it sort of combines the global matrix factorization and the local context window methods, the ones we just discussed. Now coming to the notations which we'll use across this presentation, these are the same ones which are used in the paper as well. X is the word-to-word co-occurrence matrix, as the NLP people will be familiar with. Xi is the number of times a given word appears in the corpus. Xij is sort of a word appearing in the context of another word. And then there is the conditional probability Pij, or like if when a word j appears in the context of a word I, which can clearly be given as the ratio of xij and xi according to the definitions of xij and xi. Now, one important conclusion which the paper draws, or how it goes towards its model, is the ratio of probabilities. So as you can see, if we calculate the conditional probabilities of a word for a given another word, we get a number. Like as you can see in the table, 1.9 into 10 to the power minus 4, 6.6 into 10 to the power minus 5, which doesn't in itself convey a lot of information. But if we take the ratio of these things, like let's consider the ratio of P of solid given ice and P of solid given steam, it turns out to be 8.9. Whereas it turns out to be 8.5 into 10 to the power minus 2 if K is taken as gas, which tells us that solid has a stronger correlation with ice than it does with steam. And similarly, steam has higher correlation with gas than it does with solid. So this tells us that the ratio of conditional probabilities is an appropriate starting point of sorts for the model. Now, coming to how we go about getting a function for our model. So, again, some notation: wij, wi, wj. These are word vectors, the word embeddings which we want to extract. What we assume is we are applying a function on these embeddings and getting the ratio of probabilities, that which we want. Then, to simplify the situation and getting one step closer to our model, what we assume is, as the vector spaces are taken to be linear in nature, we sort of consider the difference of I and j instead of considering it like considering them separately. Secondly, the right side is supposed to be scalar. So sort of leveraging the information and still getting out a scalar, dot products like here sounds like an intuitive option, and thus we go ahead with it with our function.
Okay, so now let's see like how can we proceed further and develop the model. So for word-word co-occurrence matrices, we cannot distinguish between a word and a context word, right? They are arbitrary and they're free to exchange roles. So the co-occurrence matrix and the words and the context words should be interchangeable. So using this notion, we can say that W and W tilde are interchangeable and X must be equal to X transpose. That is, X should be a symmetric matrix. Next, F should be a homomorphism between two groups, R plus and R greater than equal to, and the operator is multiplication. This is nothing but the function should map in such a way that we can convert the positive into multiplication. Let's say, for example, f of x plus y, we can write it f of x into f of y. This is the simple meaning of homomorphism defined here. So here, let's see, f of wi minus wj transpose into wk tilde is simply decomposed into f of wi transpose wk tilde divided by f of wj transpose wk tilde. So here plus is corresponding to multiplication, so minus is corresponding to division. This is quite intuitive, right? And one more thing here, you can see like this sort of functions, the intuition to this sort of function is exponential. We'll come to it later. Okay. Now, as we saw that f of wi minus wj transpose into wk tilde is nothing but simply the ratio of two probabilities, that is pik divided by pij. And using them independently, we come to the expression of this function like f of wi transpose wk tilde equal to pik. And pik is nothing but the ratio of xik divided by xi. Okay. So from the previous expression, as I said, that intuitively we can say that f of x, f of w transpose, wi transpose wj is exponential, right? So like using the exponential function, we come to this expression like wi transpose wk tilde will be equal to log of pik. And pik is simply xik by xi. And if we expand the log term, it will be log xik minus log xi. Okay, now note that log xi is simply a constant, like it does not depend on the word, context word, that is wk. So we can treat xi as a bias to the model. And taking it to the left hand side, we can see wi transpose plus wk tilde plus bi. And you might see here another term is the bk tilde. Okay, now why this is introduced? So as bias with respect to the word I is introduced, to make this equation symmetric, we introduce another bias, that is bk tilde. And this sort of is the equation that we'll be using to learn the word embeddings wi and wk. One major drawback to this model is that it weighs all co-occurrences equally. Like there is no weighting factor to this. So let's see how we can tackle with this problem as well. Okay, the solution to the previous problem is simply a weighted least squares regression. The cost function for that is given below, that is j is equal to f of xij, where f of xij is simply the weighting function, and the equation that we saw earlier, that is wi transpose wj tilde plus bi plus bj tilde minus log xij whole square. This is simply like you can see a linear regression problem, but this is bilinear. As we can see, there are two things that we are going to learn, wi and wj, both are learnable. But in simple linear regression, we had to learn only one embedding, right? Theta transpose x. So we had to learn the theta, right? Yeah. So this is where the bilinear term comes, and fxij has some properties, like what property should the weight function have, so that it makes sense with respect to learning the embedding. So one property is that f of 0 is 0. Okay, so let's say f of x is a linear transformation. So all linear transformations will have this null vector in that vector space, right? That's a property of linear transformation. So this is simply f of 0 is 0. Next, f of x should be non-decreasing. By non-decreasing, we mean the words that occur less number of times. So that should not be weighted highly, right? If something occurs very less number of times in the corpus, the weighting function should be less. Similarly, if x is very high, like if the co-occurrence is quite high, let's say we take the words a and the if and all these sort of words are quite like repetitive in the corpus. So for this also we should not have a high weightage, like they will dominate the corpus always. So for that reason, fx should be relatively small for large values of x. And keeping all these properties of fx in mind, the authors designed a function that somewhat looks like the one in the graph. Okay, so it like increases up till certain extent of x, that is x max, and then it becomes constant, which obeys all the three properties.
Now coming to the complexity analysis of the model, as we can see that the model depends on the correlation matrix, and the matrix size depends on the vocabulary which we have. So when we iterate on the entire corpus, the complexity is O of capital C. But when we iterate over the matrix and then do our calculation, it becomes O of V square. And for even reasonable sizes of vocabulary, the complexity becomes exceptionally unreasonable and hard to use. So for that, what we do is we make certain assumptions to estimate the counts of non-zero elements in X, and we model it. And it's modeled as a power law of the frequency rank of this given word pair on of which we are calculating the Xij.
Okay, so here you can see like the power law is xij is something k divided by rij to the power alpha. Alpha is nothing but a learnable, like changeable parameter. And one thing to notice is this alpha is also used in modeling that weightage function. Okay, so you can go through the details in the paper. We are not mentioning it. Okay, now let's move on. So the total number of words in the corpus will be proportional to the sum of all elements in the co-occurrence matrix X. So precisely that should be half of the sum of all elements of the co-occurrence matrix, right? Because we are double counting if we take the whole sum. Okay, cool. The expression you can see, mod C is approximately equal to sum of Xij over all elements of the co-occurrence matrix. And we just model Xij in terms of K, R and alpha. So xi, just replacing it, k by r to the power alpha, the sum over all ranks like r equal to 1 to mod x. Okay. Now, the last sum, like this whole sum can be written in terms of generalized harmonic number, where the harmonic number is represented as h and m, where n will be the total number of words and m is nothing but that changeable parameter. Okay, so the upper limit of the sum is nothing but the maximum frequency rank, which coincides with the number of non-zero elements in the matrix, which is equal to the maximum value of R, such that Xij is greater than equal to 1. That is, mod X is equal to k to the power 1 by alpha. Okay, we only need to consider the elements which are greater than equal to 1, because the ones which have zero co-occurrence, so that don't contribute to the total number of words found in the corpus, right? So using this and replacing mod x by replacing k by mod x to the power alpha, we arrive at mod c is approximately equal to mod x to the power alpha into h of harmonic number with parameters mod x and alpha. Now this is some hi-fi mathematical stuff. If you want, you can just read about them in details. But using harmonic function approximation and Riemann zeta function, the mod x is approximated as follows. Like mod x is computing mod x takes mod c time complexity when alpha is less than 1, and it takes mod c to the power 1 by alpha time complexity when alpha is greater than 1.
Now coming to the evaluation and experiments of the model. So one of the important experiments was the word analogy task, as aforementioned. In the word analogy task, we can see that the glove model largely outperforms all the other models in consideration, even the popular ones like CBOW and Skipgram. And then the word similarity tests like WordSim 353, MC, etc. were run, and Glove again outperforms all the other models. Then name entity recognition, except for HCPA beating Glove in one evaluation category, we can clearly see that Glove outperforms all the other models. Now some details regarding how the training was done for the evaluation. There were 5 different corpora. These corpora were taken from websites and sources like Wikipedia dumps of various years, and then they were tokenized using Stanford Tokenizer. And the vocabulary size was kept at 400,000 words, 4 lakh as in Indian speaking. A weighing function which was used here was such that if a word comes distance d from a given word, the context word, then it was weighed 1 by d instead of a complete 1. The model generates w and w tilde. As we can see, it's sort of the bilinear model, and when x is symmetric, w and w tilde are supposed to be equivalent, and they differ only due to their random and different initialization, and thus we use w plus w tilde in the model. Now, moving ahead with the analysis of the performance in these experiments, the first graph shows the accuracy as we increase the vector dimensions. So the vector dimensions are the encodings which contain the information regarding the corpus. So as the vector dimension increases, we expect an increase in the accuracy, which can be seen. Initially, the increase is high as the information content grows significantly faster in the start and then sort of slows down. After that, another thing is variation with window size, and in all the 3 categories we can sort of see a difference. The semantic accuracy, which regards to the model understanding the meaning of the corpus, increases as the window size increases, whereas we can also notice that the syntactic accuracy and syntactic performance remains somewhat same, and even sort of seems to decrease in the end. That's because as the window size increases, the context on which the model acts increases as well, and the and it gets somewhat difficult for the model to capture the syntactic regularities in a larger window frame as compared to a smaller one. We can also notice the difference in asymmetric and symmetric windows.
Okay, so now let's see if we train for more number of iterations, what happens with the other models and Glove. So in the first graph, there is a comparison between Glove and CBOW. To mention, CBOW is nothing but, if you don't know, like center bag of words model. Okay, so as we increase the number of iterations, Glove's accuracy increases significantly, whereas CBOW's accuracy decreases. This might be something related to overfitting and all. And similarly, comparing Glove and Skipgram, the Glove's accuracy also increases significantly until it saturates after a certain number of iterations, whereas the Skipgram model does not have that much impact on increasing the number of iterations. And also the accuracy is quite less. So in this paper, we saw 2 classes of methods that are not completely different. That is, the contextual method and the statistical methods are not completely different at the fundamental level, and they both probe the underlying co-occurrence statistics of the corpus. So the author tried to combine these 2 approaches, and they proposed a global log bilinear model. That is bilinear. I have already explained why it is bilinear. And this model leverages the advantages of both the approaches. And hence we arrive at like brilliant, like at that point of time, this word embeddings were considered to be state of the art. It was around 2015, I guess. Yeah. So thank you, everyone.